welcome to Glory Fights again. I'm going to try and touch on a few different subjects. I've talked about overthinking. I love spiritual warfare, and probably because I'm involved in spiritual warfare constantly. I have a very big problem. I have a problem with overthinking. My mind never stops, I guess. So, but I wanted to hit record and just get going, even though I have a million things in my head. But I wanted to get going, or I was just going to sit here and just keep thinking. So, and I'll try to, let me, please, God, help me stay on subject on just a couple subjects and make a point. So, I want to talk a little bit about, we know I love psychology, we know I love, I want to fulfill a purpose of helping someone. I love psychology because that was something that God used as a big help in my life. A very big help. But I want to talk about a little bit about some red flags, narcissism, overthinking. When I say narcissism, let's just say psychology, because the things I want to talk about can fall under narcissism. It can fall under a lot of other things also. Under personality traits and just behaviors, period. One of the things I learned, and I've saw a lot of stuff on is about overthinking and emotional intelligence, things like that. I've been a person that I've carried on conversations with myself, not because I'm crazy. Well, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just thinking and speaking out loud. I've done it, carried on conversations by myself. And I know I'm not talking to nobody except myself. But without knowing anything about it, I learned people can regulate their own emotions through doing that. And I learned that, and I'm like, okay, I've definitely done that in life. Talk myself through things, process things, conversations that didn't happen, how it's going to go, process it like that. Being able to see the future of situations, predicting outcome, having faith in a situation. These are things that I've probably done a lot, and God has helped me with a lot of it through, I know I had a very bad attitude at a young age. Because I didn't really understand life. I hated school as a kid. I didn't want to do any of that type of stuff. I didn't understand, so I didn't have an understanding of life, and I did have a very bad attitude about everything, about work, about everything in life, that probably wasn't fun or whatever, and me, the way people treat people, if things wasn't good, it was bad. I could look into people at a young age, and if I saw things I didn't like, probably I had a bad attitude about it, or yeah. But so at a young age, I went to juvenile institutions, jails, and I seeked pleasure in drugs, alcohol, all from a very young age. And this really didn't help none. It only got worse. It snowballed literally quickly. Because, it's like as I attached to one bad thing, I'd say that it affected me as far as I made my own way of life through that. One bad choice connects to this person, that person, and then I'm choosing all bad things. Drugs to bad people to whatever. Yeah. So, in learning all the psychology stuff, I found it very valuable because I learned through, and it started with narcissism. That's one I want to share. I've had all these ideas and I haven't made none of them, but I want to share. Let me share this. So, all the stuff I talk about, spiritual warfare, and it did start, me learning about psychology started with, the only thing I knew about psychology, when you would use that word, the only thing I knew about it before narcissism was depression, anxiety, all that stuff, that they would use, counseling, them words. And I'm like, bro, I can just quit that stuff by myself. You understand? And I was like, I was never interested in any kind of psych medication, not no depression meds. I'm like, I've done that in prison. I did do some anxiety, I'm like, bro, that stuff, I don't feel like the problem is big enough for me to be taking medication. I don't want to make my body and my life dependent upon a pill to make me feel weird. Because that's how I felt on them kind of psych meds. I felt a little too calm. I'm like, and I had friends that would say stuff to me about, like, because it did, and like, I had friends in prison be like, man, you need to get off that stuff, bro. And I never took it for that long. I didn't really, but I guess it made me, and I don't want to be like that. I want to have energy. I want to be active. And I do struggle with that, But, so one of the, I want to say, I want to give one of the greatest things that I learned right off the rip. The most powerful thing. So I started digging into narcissism. And for me as a man, I was a very toxic, aggressive, passionate, outspoken, standing up for whatever I thought was right, needing to be correct, or whatever it might be. But if somebody crossed me or wants to stand up to me or wrong me, I'm going to retaliate, not in a bad way, but I'm going to be outspoken about it. And if it hurts, I'm not afraid to yell and get, I was passionate. And yeah, here, I'm going to take it as disrespect. You play me stupid, I'm going to take it as disrespect, man. It's disrespectful to play somebody like they're dumb or get over on them. That's disrespectful. And I would respond toxically. Rah, 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 rah. Loudmouth freaking nutcase. Yes, that's, and in my mind, I'm letting somebody know you can't get away with that. I understand what you're doing. I see it. And this is before psychology. But the beauty of it was I didn't understand there's people. So when I started learning about narcissism, one of the first few things I started learning, like, a narcissist doesn't, they live for your reaction. And I remember being like, and the reaction, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. What they call it in psychology is narcissistic supply. The narcissist just needs a reaction. So as I'm learning this stuff, I'm like, it was one of the very biggest, best revelations of my life, because I always felt justified. Because I think, so let's say when I'm having these outbursts of anger, and I'm standing up for something that's right, if I'm right, then that makes my reaction, it doesn't matter if I'm yelling or what, I'm right in the situation. So I've lived like that all my life. Like, man, hell no, you're a freaking scumbag, you're lying, blah, blah, blah. I think because I'm right, it doesn't matter that I'm yelling. So it's justified. It's an outburst is what it is. So I just want to share this for anybody, because it's I see it all over, and me learning the psychology, I look around the world, and everybody I deal with, I'm like, dang, man, I watch them doing these behaviors or these small tactics. It's all around me. It's everywhere. And I want to speak up about it. I want to help the person, but they have to be willing. They have to understand. They have to get some kind of their own. I think God has to lead them or something to get that revelation. So for me, I say, and I'm sharing this because we're speaking about, I'm telling you, gosh, I was very intense and passionate, and whatever you, very aggressive. I was out of control, thinking that I'm standing up, thinking that I'm pouring something good and fighting a good fight, thinking that I'm fighting and trying to give somebody the truth, and like, I'm fighting for you, or, that's in my head. I'm like, I'm fighting for you. Why can't you read the passion, the anger, the fury on me? I don't like being like this. I love you enough to fight against you and stand up to you because you're wrong, right? So I lived like that. I didn't understand that when I started learning the psychology, I'm like, there's people that, guess what? They're sitting back with the smirk on their face and they're enticing you to act like that because it's their fuel. This was so mind-boggling and revelating to me, like, what? But it was the cure, so simple. I learned, like, wow. No wonder people won't listen, or they won't change that behavior. 'Cause that, it's so hurtful, like, wow, you enjoyed me blowing up and acting like a nutcase, man. I was giving them everything they want with the yelling, with the outbursts. So, this simple revelation for me changed me. It was the answer. Realizing the truth. Like, you're being taken advantage of. You're a sucker. You're blowing up, thinking you're all righteous, thinking you're standing up for what's right, thinking, and all the while, that's the answer of what you're being used for. Nobody gives a shit about your love. Nobody cares about what you're passionate about. I'm not saying that about everybody. But that was the revelation. Like, damn, man. Thank you, God. Anger problem cured. I mean, I'm not saying that as if I don't still have anger. I do. I absolutely do. And I am still capable of being somewhat triggered. I'm easier to pull myself back out of it, but I can still be triggered. Especially, so like there's some people, so I had an argument with a friend. He knows I know all this stuff. I tell him he knew what he was doing. We're arguing. And when he said what he said, he knew I would understand what he was doing. But I called him on it. I'm like, nah, bro, that's the gaslighting. That's the real version, thank you. And you know I would know, so why did he's like, yeah, and he said it, he's like, yeah, I knew you would know. and you know, it was cool. I mean, it was an intense argument that we was having, but when he did that, it was like, it was obvious, you know. I'm like, come on, bro, you can't use that. Because I expect some people to be past these things. But it was in a serious situation. Let me not, but that's one of the things I want to share about it. And I was just seeing something else, like, because that's how I live, and I'm like, I'm around I'm around people who are leaders, and I watch character traits, I watch things, and I'm like, it's so funny to see people that are like high status and stuff, and I'm like, wow, I can read traits, and some of it, I mean, you have to have grace, and I'm like, but it's why I'm very passionate about it, and I believe everybody should learn it, because for me, I want to change things. I want to be better for people, you know. So let me share. So hopefully you understand what I just said about that, the beauty of that. And I say that, the beauty of something, it's beautiful to me, man, because I lived for so long. I'm not with this anger and expressing myself and thinking I'm being outspoken and stuff, you know, and I didn't realize that learning that somebody, and when I say somebody, I'm not talking about, what? That you mean to tell me that there's people that you think love you and they live for triggering you. That sucked. Like, wow. Now I know. It showed me what a value that I had to toxic people. So just recently I was going through it with someone, and I'm trying to explain this stuff, like I've already explained it on this video. So but I was going through it with somebody else, and I was trying to explain to them, take them down like this rabbit hole, like, and this is a roadmap. The psychology stuff, it's a roadmap to two people working through a relationship or something like that, you know? It's a roadmap for families to see Hey, let's stay away from these things. Let's learn about ourselves and change. For me, it's changed me so much. I'm like, it's hard for me to. Sometimes I wonder, like, has it hurt me in ways? Because I want to pull away from a lot of people. And as I was just saying a few minutes ago, that's where I was going. I deal with people in leadership roles, people in, people that I have to go to for advice or things like that. Just people that I have to interact with all the time, a lot. If I confronted everything, or would be in a confrontation all the time, for me, so what it leaves me when I have, I have a desire to isolate a lot and not run, but I am slow to deal with certain things and people, and I guess quality time alone is important. Which leaves me sometimes like I'm fighting a battle of wanting to help people, but also how is there such an unequal balance? Like, oh, you want to help them, but do you want to pay the price of what it costs to help? Because I have to ignore all this stuff to be in that position to help. And then you also have to be rejected because the help you have isn't going to be accepted by everybody. A lot of, it's all about timing, and you have to be willing to give yourself and pour into people all the time. Even when they're not willing to, even when they're not receiving it. Because it sucks. Like, you might have this brilliant, great conversation. You're like, okay, I was sharp. I stayed on topic. I touched on everything. I got to the root of all their issues. I freaking exposed it for them. Gave them the answer on what to reflect on, what to stay away from. And then you live with them. You're watching them do the same thing. And you think you just cured their problem. But how many times have we went back, all of us, and messed up with whatever it might be, or, just because you're sitting there shaking your head like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, oh, thank you for pointing that out for me. That's what I've done with drugs. I mean, I want to get off drugs all the time. I've done it a million times, and then go back and do it again. That's not really one. That's not a good example because that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying, let's say, okay, cussing. Quit cussing. So why do I find myself in a situation where I feel like dropping an F-bomb again? Just to add emphasis. That's stupid. Smoking, dipping, just having a bad attitude, period. Being lazy, anything like that. Okay, I'm freaking working out, doing whatever. And then, guess what? The next day, that attitude's back, that laziness is back. Or you fell into anything. You fell into lust again. You fell into you get the point. Anything. Yeah. So let's talk about one more thing. Red flags. So before I knew anything about psychology, I grew up in institution. So I grew up around, which I didn't know. I didn't understand prisons. I rated these people like, okay, they're just drug addict, selfish. That's all I could see it was. I didn't understand any of the psychology. So then, as I learned the psychology, I'm like, dang. I myself did. I took on, from a young age, I picked up characteristics from other people and carried them as they was mine. Pretending, we'll call it a false self, a false sense of self. But so for being in prison, like all my tattoos, bam, it's an image that's not real. I want to be, I want to be respected. I want to be tough. I want to, you understand? So so for me, I looked up to older dudes as a kid. I looked to the streets for leadership, I guess. And I started going to institutions. So I took on that image of being jailhouse dude, prison, whatever, street kid, tough. You understand? I ran around, we fought, you know what I'm saying? So, but in the deep heart of it all, I was not I was literally faking being tough or ruthless, because I really wasn't. I don't like to see people get hurt. I'm not a vengeful. For the most part, I'm not a vengeful person. I mean, sure, like, so these are ways that I learned as a kid, and yeah, like, I didn't want to lose a fight or anything like that. I didn't want to be wronged, so I would take vengeance, but in my heart of hearts, like, I did not enjoy hurting anybody. I really just wanted to, I would say my biggest thing was that I was just attracted. I probably had addiction in my bloodstream from the, so I was addicted to pleasure and dopamine. So I would imagine, because before I even did drugs, I really, I'd say rebellion was there, because I was like that disgusted with life. Like, I would love to do drugs and drink, and that's what looked like joy to me. So I jumped all over there from red flags. I grew up in these institutions, and here, for me, this was my mindset in juvenile to adult. I'm like, I'm not a ruthless person. Everything that goes on, when it comes to drugs, selling drugs, or whatever it might be, I was never like everybody else. I didn't have a heart to, let's see how I'm not looking to benefit from everything that goes on around me. Oh, you come to me to get drugs? In my mind, I'm going to get you drugs, what you paid for. It doesn't, but I noticed everybody else is like, yeah, I can get you some drugs, because they're going to steal some of them. They want to do that. And that's how I viewed everybody. I'm like, I don't think like that. It didn't even cross my mind. Oh, I want to. And that's how it was, like, in jail. I'm like, I didn't. But so I treated, and I could read all that behavior into the people around me. Like, dang. These dudes will shake hands, they'll do this, do that. Inside of gangs, they'll rip each other off, fight each other. I'm like, I was a very self-righteous person in prison. We'll call it that because I sold drugs in prison. I ran a store. I did football tickets. And I was really good at it. I built an empire in prison off of, and guess what? I say I had a pride issue, self-righteousness. I took people's business in prison because what I did selling drugs, I sold real drugs. Like here, the people in prison knew that coming to me, they respected me. They knew that you're going to get what you pay for with me. I didn't cheat things. I'm like that behavior is disgusting to me. So I guess I had my own self-righteousness and stuff there, you know? So what I'm saying is, though, but I still had to have this ruthlessness. Do you think I want to bust somebody in their face with a freaking padlock or anything like that? I've had to do that, not because I want to. I don't want to hurt you. But in that environment, it calls for an extreme act of violence for respect. So, I've had to do that. I've had to do these actions. And I've also let things go that I should have smashed somebody over. I let things go because, that's just the name of the game, you know? You can lose everything, or you can let it go. Because, so I took on, I'm not a cruel person, you know, I don't want to hurt people, but I developed my own probably toxic traits and things like that. You know, I adapted. I'm like, okay, that's how. Maybe I watched the way one person would act, and I would try to develop that ability. I'll give you an example. When I started smoking crack, I used to smoke crack, and I didn't have the ability to do what crackheads do. I'm like, dang, dude, they rip off. I wanted to share this before. I'm scared to death. I don't like to steal. I don't want to do those things. I was running around with this dude who was a freaking treacherous thief. A bold thief. I'm like, bro, it scared me to death. I'm like, oh my God. And this dude, I'm a follower. I'm being a follower. Like, we pull up in a grocery, in a store, bro, and he's jumping out, getting in the car next door, going through their stuff. I'm like, what the frick? How does he have this boldness, dude? I'm freaking a nervous wreck. Like, man, what is this idiot doing, bro? Like, he's in a trance. Like, wow. But another example, he's like wanting to steal this thing out of somebody's store. He pulls up in a parking lot. And I'm like, bro, I can't lift it. He's like trying to get me to help him. I'm like, oh, let's go. Can't lift it. He said he was aggressive, like, do it. And I could lift it. I shared this with someone because this goes back, this goes deeper. I hate that I stole this day, but there's a point in a man's life they need someone to tell them, not a man, hold on, let me change that, a child. So what a child needs, they need to know that they can do it, and they need the encouragement from the parent. I learned that later on, but that was a thing that happened there, not then, but I needed his encouragement to, because my mind said, I didn't try to be a man and put my back into that. I'm like, I'm more like, I don't want to get caught in doing this stupid stuff. But his aggressive encouragement, I did it. And I'm not, please, I'm not proud of that at all. I'm just giving you another lesson that was involved in that. That's not me. I lived like that, a lot of different times in my life. Picking up on those traits. Oh, so where I was going at, as somebody who smoked crack, one of my mindsets was, I'm going to have to start being like these people. It means ripping each other off, doing all this selfish stuff. So I literally tried to become like that. And it just was, it's not in my heart, man. I can't stand, I walked off with people's dope. Like, this is dope fiend stuff, man. And I tried to justify, it's the way of life. No, bro, I have, here's what's missing. Empathy. I am able to look in someone's eyes and see pain. And here's another one for you. When I was learning about narcissism psychology, I'm like, okay, they say that thinking everybody thinks like you is a narcissistic trait. That's a big revelation, is realizing that because I've judged people like they know what I know. Like, hold on. You can read my facial expressions and know that I'm not picking up on what, and you're still trying to push this narrative, or you're still trying to manipulate me, and and in my mind, if they can read my eyes, they can read my facial expression like I can do theirs, or I can connect just the empathy. Like, here, man, I saw hurt on some. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to take something from someone. Because I don't want it done to me neither. You understand? I know that feeling both ways. I have empathy. And I don't want to use it for my own benefit. That probably falls under so in psychology, what they put that under dark empathy, which, what else goes under dark empathy is a person who has been through it with a narcissist. They become dark, and that doesn't necessarily mean like they're a dark triad. It means they do have the ability, and now they know how to fight it. Like, that's like me. It's not that big a deal to go through it with a narcissist that much. When I say that, I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that. Because I thought, okay, I have all this knowledge now. I'm like, I can ignore them. I can defend myself against this nonsense. I know the tactics they're doing, and it won't have no effect on me. But if you're around it long enough, so one of the things I learned is I challenged myself like that, and I'm like, it wears on you. It wears on you regardless. For me, it did before. Even though you ignoring it can can offend you, and you're just like, yeah, it's tiresome and freaking stupid. You're like, unbelievable. I've been down that road. But I tried to develop this ability. And I did it. I did it for a while, and act like I didn't care about, ruining my name and reputation. I mean, I would literally run around and call myself a junkie and a crackhead, because I'm like, I was trying to degrade myself to, like, of what I felt and what I knew people would say anyway. So I tried to put it out there and act like I'm proud of it, I guess. But it's not, I'm not that person. And which is why I didn't last long as a freaking crackhead, because I freaking caught a robbery case and went to prison. It cost me like 10 years. I'm like, amazing. Like, was that fun? Yeah. So that's why I'm pretty passionate, because then you go to prison and you're off of drugs and you're like, oh, I'm trying to do all this. Now I'm returning to being this good person. I'm like, I can't, I come out of prison, I'm like, I don't sell drugs. I'm not a drug dealer. Like, I would never do that out here. I don't have the nuts to do it out here. I'm like, I'm not. See, I felt safe selling drugs in prison, because I'm like, I'm in prison already. They're not going to give me a case. I was selling petty stuff, I'm like, but out here, you can go to freaking prison for that. I'm like, I'm not selling drugs. And then you have to realize, and this is the thing, so this is where I lacked empathy. Hold on, I didn't lack empathy, because I had some guys that got in deep debt with me, and I felt bad. But if they didn't do it, so I would justify it. Like, yeah, okay, if they didn't do it, I mean, they're going to do it regardless in here. At least with me, they was getting what they paid for, and they took advantage of me. They took advantage of my kind heart and ran up this big stupid bill with me. I faced that. I faced that situation. And guess what? I don't think I busted anybody's head over it. I did turn one debt over to some people that would, and I told them that I would do that. I was like, man, look, bro, I'm just going to turn this debt over. Because I can't lose everything else I have because you wanted to freaking be stupid, but don't play me sweet and run up a debt like that. It's weird. But, so my point is, I'm over listening to, but my point is, I already kept you guys 42 minutes running my mouth. I'm gonna spare you on this one, man, and let this go. So I hope I get the point I made, man. I just want to get on here, be active, make a freaking video, man, because I was sitting here wrapped up, man, and I talk about some real things, man. Ignoring red flags, bro. I try and finish this, man. I get caught up in not being active on certain things, maybe, or the ability to. Here, this is therapy for me. I just talk. At least I spent 45 minutes. Well, I don't care if anybody listens or not. I do care. I would like for this to be beneficial, man. And at the worst, this will be for my daughter, so she'll understand when she grows up. Maybe she can see this stuff and understand what my struggles in life, and see me in a different light, other than, because all she gets to see is when she does see me is she sees me full of joy, and she sees me full of joy, and I just do what I can to enjoy my time with her and to give her everything I can give her. But hopefully this will show her later in life, anything, something else, I use this for my own therapy because I deal with freaking thinking and fighting and war all the time, man. This is, I have a desire to help, to change people, to give God as the answer. Psychology is the answer. Hold on. Let me sum that up, I guess. Look, God used psychology for me. I'm just saying these things are what I'm passionate about. I don't feel good enough to be glorifying, to be preaching God a lot, because I have my own flaws. But Jesus is the answer. And for me, psychology, he did use that, but he used that to help me change, to highlight my stuff that needs changed. You understand? So it's all glory to him, but he used psychology for me. And so that's why I speak a lot about it, about the psychology. But for other people, the one true answer, I'm not going to heaven because of these behaviors that I changed. It's God. It's the righteousness of God that's going to save me. But the love of God showed me things about myself that helped me navigate through life and change my own heart and mind, so that I can be a better person. I'll be a better witness for him. Do I still have plenty of flaws? Yes. Amen. That's the name of the game. But this is therapy for me. I spent 46 minutes freaking talking about, might not make sense to most, but, it helped me. I did something. I shared something. And as I started off in the beginning talking about, I could have sat here in this chair and freaking flipped through my phone or something, or, and not been active. But, at least I made some content for, that's my best case scenario, is that my daughter has this to look back on in life and look and see my heart and mind. And I shared intimacy. It's the intimacy, This is being vulnerable right here, Let's go into that. In the midst of me telling you and knowing all this stuff, I've took this to people and tried to work out, like, hey man, this is how it is. Let's go with this. Narcissists don't like being told no. Probably, let's go back. Psychology. A lot of people probably don't like being told no. As a man, as a father, I'm not going to be told. It's not about being told no. It's about respect. Me as a father, as a man, as a dad, bam. But some people could twist that. I've had that twisted. Like, oh, you're just mad that I said no. No, it has nothing to do with being told no. What it has to do with is I can show you the spite behind your comment, whatever it might be. No, what it's about is control, manipulation, power, spitefulness, those things. Disrespect. I'm a man, dad, father, blah, blah, blah. So it's not about being told no. It's about being disrespected, belittled. Like, oh, you're not capable of doing this or that. Like, here, I'm capable of making this decision, and I want to be respected for that. Respected. I don't need to. So there. So I'm very good at seeing toxic traits and things. And I've ignored red flags. I've gave chance after chance about things, and I've, stuck my foot in my mouth and went back into situations where you basically know, but you have your own flaws. That's like, okay, I want to try. I want to do this or that, and There's a lot to learn, man. Anybody wrapped up in I gotta quit with this. Thank you. I am done.